Yeah. Uh. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2-Point Conversion Monday Night Football pregame show. Happy Thanksgiving, because it's Canadian Thanksgiving. So, all the Americans, I guess it's just a normal Monday, but in Canada we had the day off. So,
No, it's Indigenous Day here.
Sorry, it's what?
It's Indigenous Day. It used to be Columbus Day. It's now Indigenous Day here.
Oh,
okay. Holiday.
So instead of naming it after the dude that came and killed a bunch of the people, it's almost like Thanksgiving. Like, we're thankful for being on this continent, even though, I know I'm not of the original Aboriginals, Indigenous peoples of this continent. So very fortunate to be here, because there's a lot of other countries that I wouldn't want to live in. Honestly, the States is probably one of them. So that's fair. Yay, go Canada. I mean, this game is close to Canada. Tonight, it's New York Jets in New Jersey hosting the other actual team from New York, but they're in Buffalo, the Bills, which is really close to Canada, basically right on the border. So it's almost like it's a Canadian game. Yeah, they'll give us a Bills game on Canadian Thanksgiving. That's actually really nice of you, NFL. Thank you. And Jamie's here, another kind of Canadian.
Hello, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, hope you enjoy the Bills-Jets game tonight. I know we certainly will, but as always, I guess I should introduce us. I'm Kyle Senner. I'm joined by my co-host, Gladys Louise Tyler. And every Monday night, we'll be here picking the Monday night games against the spread, pick the higher lower, pick player props as well. So, hi, Gladys. Glad to have you here. I'm very thankful to have you as a co-host here on Canadian Thanksgiving.
It's going to go on all day.
Well, I'm always very thankful. So,
okay.
Cool. It's Thanksgiving all day. So the entire time we're on the air, it'll be still Thanksgiving.
And you'll be thankful the whole entire time.
I mean, I was thankful that I went 2 for 3 last week, so that's good. I've been pretty bad. So, Gladys still leading the way between our former co-host Dan and us as well on screen. But Gladys, you're only up by 1. You're at 9 and 12, while Dan and I are both 8 and 13. So,
not scared, bro. Not scared.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll probably certainly mess up at some point. So. So we're gonna share our picks, Dan's picks, and everyone in the crowd wants to make picks. Like Jamie might make picks. Who knows? I love the Canadian one, so I'm gonna keep that up for a while. Is that
Max Crosby going to Detroit after Hutchinson's injury?
Max Crosby, Detroit.
That would be awesome.
I'd hate it. That would be awesome.
I know you would hate it. That would be awesome for Detroit.
Let the Lions be losers. You don't have to replace everything. You know what would have worked though? Keeping Canadian, match your bets on the freaking team. I still have no idea why they've cut him. I mean, the BC Lions can take advantage because that's where he's playing this year. But like, Jamie's drinking a Labatt. Thank you, Jamie. Enjoy your alcohol. I don't know. I guess I want match your bets in the NFL, maybe on the Packers, for instance, or another team that's not the Lions. So I don't know. Who knows what's going on there? Lions trash organization. Old-fashioned football. Thanks for having me on the show last week. Appreciate that. Yeah, I was on Thursday. Sorry, I didn't join you guys live, Gladys, because I was on the old-fashioned show live. So, but of course, Gladys also co-hosts the. It's not called in no particular order in season. I forget what you call the show.
Give a shit show.
Yeah, okay, that's what I
thought. Hassan Reddick would be good too, though. That would be awesome.
Hassan Reddick. Has he even played for the Jets yet? Is he playing tonight?
No, he didn't play. He's not. His CAA. They dumped him because his requests were so outrageous. So he didn't have an agent till this morning.
I mean, some players play without agents, so it's not like he had to have an agent to sign a contract.
He had an agent and he wasn't signing the contract, so I don't think
I get that.
Players that's not going to play without an agent. He doesn't. His requester or whatever. I don't know what he's requesting.
If he didn't have an agent and the Jets came with him with the contract he wanted, he would have signed it, right? Like, the agent is to help you get the contract. So if the Jets offer the contract, he'd sign it without the agent, and then he wouldn't have to pay commission on it either.
Sure. Okay.
Clearly, the Jets aren't going to pay it, though, right? That's kind of the problem. That's why he would be nice.
Yeah, they're doing well. That's pick six last weekend was fired from my DFS lineup. Wait, that's a person?
Lions just
Yes.
who they playing? Oh, he has the Calgary Stampeders, of course. Yeah, just totally destroyed them. They had two. They what would they put? They put up 30 points and they didn't score a touchdown on offense. They had two defensive touchdowns and a ton of field goals. So it was hilarious. And Jamie's familiar with the old fashioned couple as well, J Mark and or Miranda. Both appreciative again of having me on Thursday night. But yeah, we're here to talk Monday Night Football. And I guess we could talk NFL news, Gladys, but it really does directly relate to this Bills Jets game. I don't know. On Thursday night, you and your co-hosts discussed Robert Saleh's firing, but we can also, if you want to further rant, if you've had further thoughts about it and want to express them here, feel free.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'll say the thought that Rodgers manipulated it to get him fired would make more sense if Nathaniel Hackett wasn't just demoted. It kind of makes it seem like it's all in line, right? So
I'm pretty sure that Nathaniel Hackett getting demoted wasn't on his bingo card, wasn't on Rodgers' bingo card. I don't think that I don't think that the new interim head coach discussed what he was going to do with Rodgers before he demoted Nathaniel Hackett. I think that it was a balls move. It was a move that said, you maybe Robert Saleh can be pushed around and you're going to fire him because he wants to fire Nathaniel Hackett, but we'll do the next best thing. We'll keep your boy here, but he's not calling plays anymore. Although I'm not sure Todd Downing is going to be any better, but it'll be different.
I would argue Nathaniel Hackett's a better offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That's why he was the OC over Todd Downing.
Yeah.
We like, here's the thing about Hackett. We've seen him be a really good offensive coordinator. He got the absolute best out of Blake Bortles. Like, that offense was very competent with the Jags the year they went to the AFC Championship game. And Bortles has been awful the whole time, but they made him look good. They worked around him. Leonard Fournette having a running back that can do that, it can really help. But yeah, it's just I feel like Nathaniel Hackett gets the short end of a stick. He's not anywhere close to the worst offensive coordinator in the league. I would argue he's not even the worst offensive coordinator on his own team. But we'll see what Todd Downing brings to it.
Well, I think the problem probably wasn't Nathaniel Hackett's offensive coordinating ability. I think it was probably Nathaniel Hackett ceding to Aaron Rodgers' request of what he thought the offense should do.
Which we're seeing in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, right? Like, Stefanski's offense is different. He's catered it to Watson's skill set to get the best out of him, and he still can't.
No, sure. I don't know. I don't agree. I don't think that. I think if Stefanski had his way, he would have another quarterback under center. That being said, Deshaun Watson, we have no idea after him coming off suspension what his skill set is. It's clearly not the same skill set he had when he was in Houston because he's not playing up to that caliber. So it's possible that what he is capable of doing well, they just haven't found yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're catering to something that you saw 3 years ago, 4 years ago, how long has it been? 4 years ago, from a player who had to sit out of a league for a year, the league changes. The league changes. Defense changes. The offensive change. You can't do that. That's like the Sean Payton theory of, okay, he's gonna play my brand of ball, and I'm not gonna cater to what he does best because this is what I'm used to. I don't know what Deshaun Watson's skill set is. I don't know what the best version of him is on the field because I don't think we've seen it. And we can't say, oh, it's what he did in Houston because that was like 4 or 5 years ago. Like,
how long ago was he playing air guitar in that playoff game for Houston when they're up 24-0 against the Chiefs, thinking they're going to win that game, and they actually blow it? And like, from that moment on, it's been just awful. Because I mean, he wasn't bad as last year in Houston, but the team was so bad. I think they won like 4 games. So like, his play couldn't even elevate that team. And then what we've seen since is that he's doing the opposite. He's dragging his teams down.
Yeah, I mean, They have good players. It's not like they're, and I mean no disrespect to this, but it's not like they're New England's players roster. They have capable players. Amari Cooper, Njoku, Miles Garrett's just being. I feel bad for Miles Garrett, and as a Steelers fan who knows Miles Garrett has stolen T.J. Watt's Defensive Player of the Year at least twice, that's sad. I feel bad for Miles Garrett because he's going out there and he's still playing his ass off, and they're on the field for so much because their offense sucks so bad. I don't know.
It's funny how I totally steered this conversation to talk Browns, even though we're supposed to be talking about the Jets. But anyway, Roger says he had nothing to do with Robert Saleh getting fired. I'll believe it at face value, and that this was all from Woody Johnson. Well, I mean, because I think there's been so much said, right? Like it could go from as far as Rodgers didn't want Hackett fired, so he manipulated this, to the other extreme, which is Robert Saleh has a Lebanon flag on his jacket, and with Israel and Lebanon now at war, Woody Johnson fired him for that. Right? Like those are the extremes of the narratives we've heard. It could be as simple as he didn't win enough games, the owner's tired of losing, make the change. The easiest thing to change is fire the coach.
That would be a simple explanation if it were in the Jets' DNA to fire a coach midseason. It wasn't in the Jets' DNA to do that. And they've had some really bad coaches.
Well, how long has this owner owned the team? Because he's not necessarily like an old ingrained owner that's been there forever, right? Like I feel like he's a more recent
owner. I have no idea.
I'm gonna look that up. But yeah, Jamie's got a great stat here. Watson has more lawsuits than touchdown passes since he got in Cleveland. It's funny because everything that's being said about Deshaun Watson, everything can be said about Daniel Jones, right? Like he doesn't have the touchdown production. He still has more interceptions than touchdowns since signing that mega contract.
He's owned them for 24 years. January 2000, he paid $635 million to the estate of oil baron Leon Hess for the franchise.
Interesting. Okay. So then I know in 2000 they wanted to hire Bill Belichick, but then he at the last second went somewhere else. So whoever they had a coach at that point, eventually Rex Ryan gets in there and he's there for a few years. But that's also like the most success they had. So if anything, they might have moved on from Rex Ryan too quickly because they haven't had success with anyone else.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles. Yeah. I don't know. Well, and you know what? Just because the owner hasn't done it before, maybe he's fed up with it, right? Like this is okay. I'm gonna do something new because everything I've done up to this point has not worked. The Jets have the longest playoff drought, so they've gone through how many head coaches since Rex Ryan brought them to the playoffs, right? So maybe he's also thinking, I just need to do something new, and I'll try. I haven't done the midseason firing yet. Maybe that's what I need to do to spark this team.
Sure.
Probably won't work though, because I think. One of the things you mentioned on the Thursday show is it seems like the defense wasn't the problem. So him as his defense works. His defensive players also really like it.
Yeah.
So as we get to the game tonight, I love numbers, Jamie. 24 lawsuits, 19 touchdown passes. Is that total touchdowns, including rushing? I think that's just passing, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong there, Jamie. For this Bills-Jets game tonight, honestly, all week I've been looking at the Bills line like, okay, 3.5, I think I'll take that. And it just keeps coming down to the point where they're 1.5 point road favorites. And this is interesting, Gladys. I mentioned this nugget before we started. This is the first road favorites we've had on Monday Night Football yet this year. So low favorites on the Bills with all the turmoil the Jets have had. Sometimes when you fire a coach and the players like Raiders, Josh McDaniels to Antonio Pierce, sometimes it does spark the players, especially if they really believe in the coach. I wonder if this has the opposite effect. The players believe so much in Robert Saleh that now that he's fired, especially the defense, they might really, like if things start to fall apart, like what was the strength of this team could also turn into a weakness. So I think especially, and there's no rest edge in this game. I haven't had to use that stat too often this year. Both teams played Sunday. but the Bills played in the same state. Oh, I guess not. They're playing in New Jersey, but they're so close to where they were playing this game that like there's basically no travel time. The Jets played last Sunday in London, so I think with all that in mind, one of the easiest things for me to do to start like for this week for picking, I've kind of ever since I saw it on the schedule, ever since we got the news of the firing and the fact that they were in London, my whole thought is I'm picking the Bills no matter what. You're telling me they're only 1.5 point favorites? Locked in the Bills. Like that to me is the easiest call of the night. Everything I'm going to pick tonight, I'm taking the Bills as 1.5 point favorites on the road.
But I think it's odd that the Jets elected not to take a bye week after the London trip. That's just crazy.
Especially if you're going to fire the coach, right? Like you'd think it'd be perfect after the bye week. Yeah, no, it's some teams just don't. Not sure why.
Yeah.
The Jets, man, what a bad run organization, right? Like, they can't do anything right.
There are no Steelers, that's for sure.
Oh my god. Hey, 4-2. Steelers looking great. I actually did want to ask you about that because I have Justin Fields on like 3 dynasty leagues, and I keep like even this week. Okay, man, I toyed with benching him in some spots because I don't know at what point could Russell Wilson like usurp him. What point could Justin Fields be benched? Because I mean, both extremes could be true, right? Like Fields could get benched next week, or Fields could start a playoff game for them and like start every game all season, right? And I guess what do you think is likely for this scenario for the Steelers quarterback this year?
Do I think Russell Wilson will overtake the start from Fields? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
No, I don't, and it's just a perception. My perception is not only is Fields doing well on the field, but I think Fields is well liked in the locker room too. Like, and as long as they're winning, regardless, like he's not making any glaring mistakes. He's had like a couple of interceptions that were questionably bad, but I feel that he has shown the potential or the start of the potential that he had why Chicago drafted him. And I don't believe that I think Russell Wilson is QB2. Now the narrative is that he was promised the starting gig when he signed with the Steelers. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if you can. I don't see Tomlin doing that actually, but I also don't see Tomlin removing Fields if Fields continues to play well enough that the Steelers are win the game. The Steelers are winning. There's no reason to do that. Russell Wilson doesn't offer any more upside. He doesn't have the running ability. The rushing ability that Fields have is what saved them this week. Is what helped them win this week. And
does he have 5 rushing touchdowns?
Yeah.
Like that's like touchdowns have been hard to come by for the Steelers. So the fact that he's been able to do that on his own, like that's a part of their offense now. Like Wilson wouldn't. There's a lot of those where he's just like running out to the edge, outrunning guys to get to the end zone. I mean, he's making it look pretty easy. Like Wilson would not have scored a lot of those.
Yeah. So I don't think that unless something catastrophic happens, that Russell Wilson is going to play for the Steelers as quarterback.
Do you think like if Fields just has like the worst game of his career, is one bad game all it would take for it to happen?
Or if the decision was up to Mike Tomlin, I would say no, because Mike Tomlin. Look, he's keeping. Well, we would hope it is. I mean, he's keeping George.
That seems like a team that knows who's in charge. Like I'm the boss, I'm the head coach. Like that's a head coach decision only. Like I know, like position coaches might rotate receivers. The OC might have a preference for. Feels like quarterback is the head coach's decision. Like Arthur Smith doesn't get to call this, and frankly, if Arthur Smith could make a call, you got to figure he would want Fields because he could run his rushing offense the way he'd want to. Like, in theory, although as Jamie says, Arthur Smith is he says, I was gonna say turd, but tard at the end. But Arthur Smith is well, I'll go with the Red Foreman call. A dumbass. Stop healthy scratching R. Wilson, not Russell Wilson, Roman Wilson. So that's the other. Who cares about Russell Wilson? Roman Wilson's the real controversy here.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's something going on with Roman Wilson that why he's a healthy scratch. Like because he was 2 weeks ago, he was supposed to play, and then they healthy scratched him. and there was no reason. And then last week, the Pickens not having the majority of snaps, I have a feeling there's something weird going on in that wide receiver room that is probably centered around George Pickens being a shithead. But
maybe they shouldn't have traded away Deontay. I mean, Jamie's talking about
no,
best separator. Their best separator they gave away.
they did. Deontay Johnson.
And I mean, the corner
Oh,
they got, is he a starting corner for them? Is he like really contributing?
Yeah, it's depth corner. It's a depth corner.
Like, why? Why do that? It's
I
stupid.
don't know. It was stupid. I think that for whatever reason, I think
Field's best weapon. Damn it.
Well, at the time we didn't have. I think that for some reason Tomlin, I think George Pickens has Antonio Brown vibes, and Tomlin was a staunch supporter of Antonio Brown when he was with the Steelers. And I think that
the results showed, though, right? Like best receiver in literally
right.
the best receiver in the league.
And I think
Pickens
Tomlin
that.
feels
Like,
that that's Pickens' ceiling, and so he keeps whatever, not coddling him, but
vibe in both sense, like not just the way he acts. He feels like this is the receiver that Brown was, but I mean, I don't really see that. Like, I don't think
I don't either. I would, if I had the choice between Deontay Johnson and Pickens, I would have taken Deontay Johnson 99.9% of the time.
For sure. In fact, I would imagine most people make that decision. Like, I don't think that's even a question, to be honest. But it was just, it seems like more like inflated receiver market. They felt like they didn't pay him that well relative to other receivers. Like, he was still like not making 20 million. And it seems like the Steelers were even hard pressed to do that. Like, oh, pay a receiver 17 million. I don't know about that. Like, well, these other guys are getting 30 million. So, okay, we'll do that. But it seemed like they didn't, like, the next contract was going to be so expensive that they didn't want to do it. So they just get out and trade him for what you can. But you may as well just ride out the season and let him walk for what you paid for and get that extra year out of it, right? Like a seventh and a backup corner, like, just.
It feels like it was like one of those desperation heaves, like last minute fire sale kind of
Which would make sense if you're like, okay, Roman Wilson's ready, as Jamie's putting out the turd Arthur Smith. But now, like, the thing is, again, I'm wondering, like, is this even Arthur Smith's call? Like, this seems like it's a Tomlin call. Like, I would imagine the head coach gets to decide who's active and not on game days. So, like, as much as I love, I did just watch a Star Wars movie last night, and piling on Arthur Sith. I don't even know if you can blame him for this, because I feel like this is on Tomlin. This is just Tomlin making the decision that Roman Wilson's not ready.
I'm pretty sure it's probably a Tomlin call. I can't see Tomlin ceding like major personnel calls to Arthur Smith for sure. But
oh God, of all the guys, like, man, because he's shown personnel calls maybe his weakest point.
Yeah.
So, which is why it's easy to blame, right? Like, we'd expect Arthur Smith to do something that's stupid. And you know what? Maybe they both agree on it, right? Like, maybe that's true. Like Tomlin and Smith both think Roman Wilson's not ready, and that's why he's not
playing. Yeah. I just like to see him on the field. I just like to see what he can do, especially with Justin Fields. And I think actually having a quality receiver on the field will help George Pickens. George Pickens isn't built to be wide receiver one. He's not. He's just not. He's not mentally built to be wide receiver one. And on the field, he does not do well. He doesn't do well when he's bumped. He doesn't do well when he's covered. Like, he's not a good separator. He's not built to be. He needs attention focused on another receiver for him to exceed.
It seems like hands. Like, he's a great catcher. Like, that's his best skill set that he offers, right? Like, so like, he can make contested catches. He can make crazy diving catches too. And so, like, his, like, the range, like, you can throw him a ball that's maybe not in the chest and he can still come down with it. That, to me, that's what seems like George Pickens' best skill set. Which is weird that, like, Tomlin would say Antonio Brown vibes, because that is not Antonio Brown's game at all. It's the separating, right? Like, it's so, that's also weird.
I know.
You're right. Yeah, Antonio Brown's a free agent.
I don't know what they're gonna do. Hey, I wanted to thank you for your goal line, because actually reading that and using a couple of the players that were in there kept me in one of my DFS leagues. Actually, thank you for that.
Yeah, well, I'm thankful that you read it, and I'm glad it's helpful, useful.
I forgot to tell you that. Yeah, it was really helpful, actually. I'm gonna
Yeah,
need that every week. Actually, thank you.
man,
You could
the
just send
Ravens
it.
passing score this week is insane.
Oh,
I'll have to look back at like I don't even know if I've seen a goal line grade this high. And like I'll go back to previous years. I don't think I've ever had a grade this high. So
see, here's my worry though. The Ravens. I mean, Lamar looks really good. There's no way. Lamar looks outstanding. Derrick Henry was a great addition to the team. Zay Flowers is starting to show Zay Flowers why he's Zay
he's
Flowers.
starting to bloom.
But they were good last year during the season too. Like they excelled. It was during that playoff game where they started doing crazy stuff that it just fell apart. You know what I mean?
Week 1 to the Chiefs, they didn't run the ball. And guess what they've done since then is just run Derrick Henry a ton and they've won. So I do think when they get to the playoffs again, okay, now we're gonna have that run heavy game script that everyone wants us to, that we should do, right? Like it feels like now they've learned from their ways on that.
I hope so. I mean, unless they play the Steelers, and I don't hope so. But
well, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's why I think like there's talk Fields could get benched at any point. He could again. I realistically think he could start a playoff game this year. So
yeah, I think he could do. I mean,
and like he never loses the job, and he has it the whole year. And then he's like, man, what? Like Jaden Daniels and Justin Fields so cheap this year to acquire, like especially in like single.
Jaden Daniels, and it did, and they didn't lose because Jaden Daniels looked bad. Jaden Daniels looked good too.
Yeah.
That was the best
Lamar. Like this Ravens team is.
That's the best defense he went against, and he still held up. So Jaden Daniels is the real deal.
And I mean, Jamie, you were here Sunday morning with me on the. I co-host that as well, the Sunday morning stream, and someone was asking a Jaden Daniels question. I'm like, okay, you don't bench Jaden Daniels, and again, I said he's my QB2 this week. So if you have Lamar, play Lamar over him. But other than that, like, there's no reason to bench Jaden Daniels. He hasn't given us a reason to think you can bench him.
And he plays Carolina this week.
And you know what?
God.
I think they asked about Jordan Love. And honestly, I think Jordan Love did outscore Jaden Daniels, but I'm sticking by the process of you just play this guy every week with what you have.
Did Jordan Love outscore Jaden?
He threw 4 touchdowns. So
how many yards? Didn't he throw to 4 touchdowns with under like 200 yards or something?
Oh, no, he was like 250, 258, I think. Jordan Love had a pretty good fantasy game. Because I know, because the league I have Jaden Daniels, I went up against the Jordan Love manager, and they actually got me head to head on that one, but I won anyway. Derrick Henry, thank you, Derrick Henry. That was really the difference maker. He's been great. So yeah, so I guess I went through my. I don't know if it's a Jets rant, but my whole Jets coaching thing, the reasoning. I'm taking the Bills. What do we got? It's 7:30 now, so we got about 45 minutes before the game. So if you want to start getting to props, we certainly can. But yeah, thanks for that insight on Fields. It's giving me. Last week, I struggled in some leagues thinking, okay, that they lost the 2 games in a row, and Wilson's finally active. If it looks like they start losing, and Tomlin, okay, let's stay above 500. But now that they're 4-2, it also feels like Fields has several. Like even if he plays another bad game with Wilson active, he won't get benched mid-game, and he'll get leeway to come back the next week and respond from
it. Who's next coach is going to get fired? Peterson or Sirianni?
I mean, here's the thing: the Eagles are probably going to win most of their games the rest of the year. So
they barely beat Cleveland.
Sure, but they won. I mean, that's all that matters is winning, right? Like
no, that's not all that matters. If you play bad, if you play poorly, that's not all that matters. Because
that's fair. But
I mean,
the problem is the Jags aren't playing well and they're losing, right? So I would say it's Peterson, just because they've lost more games, so it feels like his leeway to continue to lose is so minimal.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, everyone's talking. I was listening to podcast, the Voto World podcast, and shout out to Kyle Dvorak, former league mate of mine in RSL league. They were talking about, would Peterson have already been fired if they weren't staying in London for another week? And it's just the awkwardness of firing a coach and having to send him back to another country, like that.
That's
okay.
Funny.
Now,
would they not let him on the team plane?
Yeah, you gotta fly buy your own ticket back. Someone would say they'd probably just charter a plane back for him.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be too expensive. Get out of here. That's your severance. Is I'm actually flying you back to your home,
I'm actually
right? So like
letting you come
just to
back into the
avoid that,
country.
let's give him. They're in London. They're there for a week. Get back from London and you've lost both games. That might be his job.
Who do they play this week in
The
London?
Patriots. So they could win this.
Yeah, they could, in theory, maybe.
Drake May didn't look awful against.
No, he didn't.
So
his offensive line still looked awful, but he didn't look awful at all.
but now against the Jags, is that going to matter? Because their pass rush isn't good, right? So that defense is so bad that May might actually win this game. And then
I have a couple bets on May. Jamie, that's allowed. You're so weird. Jamie's so weird.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't checking that.
That's okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're so weird. Of course,
do you want to join us on the stream, Jamie, or you just want to put your? Because if you want to join us, let me know and I'll send you an invite.
Yeah, he said hop on, so he's already on that. So yeah.
You know what? He can log in himself. I guess he doesn't need me to invite him. So yeah, if you want to just log in and join us, feel free to hijack the stream. If you do want me to send you an invite, though, also mention that.
Is Turkey
Yeah. Hello, Turkey. Hi. Do you guys think the Jets would do much better without Aaron Rodgers?
I heard a stat today that the Jets have scored as many points with Aaron Rodgers as they did last year with Zach Wilson. So yeah, maybe.
I mean, and it's based on their roster now. You're not choosing Zach Wilson. You're choosing Tyrod Taylor, right? And I feel like Tyrod Taylor has shown through his year he can operate an offense.
I think this game is pivotal for Aaron Rodgers. I think that he had a game where he threw 3 interceptions, and the big news is that they fired their coach. The big news should be that Aaron Rodgers,
their defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, that Brian Flores owned Aaron Rodgers in London. That should have been.
Well, to be fair, Brian Flores has been doing that to everyone. So that to me, that's not even the game. I feel like the other games were more winnable. Like that one, okay, against arguably the best coordinator in the game right now.
Yeah, arguably supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks at figuring out defenses in the game too. So it should have been slightly even matched than what it was. Like a couple of those interceptions were just bad, just really bad.
Should the Jets trade for Deshaun Watson? That solves everyone's problem, right? I don't know what to do with Deshaun Watson because the contract almost makes it unmovable. But we've also seen the Broncos trade an unmovable Russell Wilson or cut an unmovable Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
The Falcons traded out of Matt Ryan at the end of his career, and that was a bad contract. So it's happened. The teams will eat the dead cap if they need to. I just think, it's not going to happen this year. Feels like Deshaun's on this team this year.
I don't think.
Really. Yeah, I think Turkey's question's fair because the way Rodgers, it almost feels like I don't want to say the word distraction, but it feels like that's what it is. It just seems like it feels like the Jets have just been one giant distraction all off season, and it's not just Rodgers' fault either.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Seems like what was a worse mistake? The Browns going for Deshaun Watson or the Jets going for Rodgers? I have a very easy, clear answer on that. I think I know which one is very significantly worse.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on how the Jets end up if Rodgers plays a full season, because the expectation is that I don't think anyone expected Watson to leave Cleveland to a Super Bowl. I mean, they were like an upgrade for sure. They thought they.
I think Cleveland was expecting that, to be honest.
I think maybe Haslam was expecting that. I don't think Cleveland was expecting that.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
But when the Jets and New York and diehard New York fans expect Rodgers to take them to a Super Bowl, so I mean, the expectations I think it weren't the same. Unfortunately, monetarily.
Rodgers last year in Green Bay, they missed the playoffs, so I was not expecting them to win a Super Bowl with the Jets.
Monetarily, I think by far Watson is you paid someone to sit out for a year, basically. That's just ridiculous, and you paid him.
Although his salary that year wasn't very much, so he was barely getting paid that year, but he got a bunch of money that year in a signing bonus.
Define barely getting paid.
Well, no, he got a ton of money in a signing bonus, but his actual
sit
base
out for
salary
a
that year
year.
was very minimal. Like he was making like what it was almost like Russell Wilson's contract this year with the Steelers right now, where he's making like a million and a half.
To sit on his ass because he had lawsuits against him.
Well,
Pay
I mean,
me
that
$1.5 million, and I will
to
sit
be
on my
fair,
ass.
like that was the league suspending him, right? Like that wasn't Watson's choice or Cleveland's choice, but
But they
but
knew.
they knew that going into
Yeah,
it, right?
they
Like,
knew it going into the contract.
which is why they structured it that way, so he wouldn't lose as much money.
Oh my God.
No, for sure.
So by far, that's the worst contract. But
Well, I think
expectation
it's
wise, I don't
football
know.
reasons. They had a quarterback. Like
Yeah.
as okay, you could say Zach Wilson scored the same amount of points as Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson's not very good. They clearly needed to do something to move away from Zach Wilson. The Browns had the quarterback in Baker Mayfield. They did not need to make this move. That's why it's one of the worst. It's probably the worst move in NFL history because it's not just how bad you're going to be with Watson. How much better could they have been with Baker, who won a playoff game with this team the year before they went, or 2 years before they went and got Watson, and then he got injured the next year and it was a bad season. But ultimately, Baker's shown a lot more since then than Deshaun Watson. So,
Well, I think too, Baker, a lot of it was internal too. Like I don't think it was just on the field stuff. I think he was having issues inside the locker room with a few of the players. So I think a lot of Baker's movement was internal. I'm not saying it was anyone's fault. I just don't think there was goodness and good vibes going on in that locker room.
so you bring Deshaun Watson instead. That'll make the good vibes go.
Well, I mean, if Watson played up to what they thought they were getting, what Haslam thought he was getting, yeah, I think you would have had good. You have good vibes in that locker room.
Maybe
the bad vibes.
I wonder how many of his teammates hate him, and it does nothing to do with football. I bet there's a certain amount of Browns players that just hate him.
I think, yeah. I mean, but I think there's a certain amount of Jets players that hate Rodgers. So,
oh, for sure.
I mean,
but again, but it's also has
but
nothing
if
to
you're
do with
winning,
football, right?
if you're
it's the
winning,
distractions off the field, right? Like
if you're winning, people forget how much they hate you. That's just it's sad, but it's true. You win, and people forget what kind of asshole you are. Tyreek Hill.
One thing you can't do in training camp is win, though, right? Like if you hate these guys all through training camp, suddenly a few wins in the seasons probably isn't going to change your outlook. You're happy that your team is winning, but you're how you view them probably doesn't change.
Yeah, but I don't think there's that much of a distraction in the locker room. You just go, okay, he's on our team. I don't have to talk to him.
With Winston there, is there? I don't know.
Yeah, with Winston there, yeah, because everyone loves Winston. Like, how can you?
Which is hilarious, since he's just as much of a I was gonna say pedophile, but as much of a predator as Watson is. So it's funny how Winston just kind of he gets totally forgiven for all that. But truthfully, that's the reason he's there because he's not going to make Watson feel bad about being a sexual predator, right? Because he is one. So like they both can get along in that because that was something that was talked about by the Browns GM. We brought in a backup quarterback that Watson would be comfortable with. Those exact words were used by Moneyball boy, whatever his name is. Costa, I can't remember. DePodesta, whatever his name is. So, like that, I think that's a real thing. Where other quarterbacks, like a Joe Flacco, is probably judging Watson like, yeah, this is not a good human being. Winston, you're not going to get that. Well, you might, but then he'd be a hypocrite. So, but it does legit seem like, I don't know. The truth is, Winston really hasn't done anything in the NFL. Like, he hasn't won. He produces, he looks good, but he doesn't win games. So it's not a threat. Whereas Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl MVP. Like, that's a much bigger threat in terms of career accomplishments, like what he's able to do. Like, we know that guy is capable of winning a Super Bowl. Jameis Winston will never win a Super Bowl unless he's the backup on it.
That far back.
He's not a good enough quarterback.
It wasn't even that far back. Joe Flacco replaced him and did way better than he did. Like,
last year, right? And that's why they didn't want to keep him. They didn't want that headache. Like, it was fine last year because Watson was out for the season. Okay, well, then it's Flacco's team. But as soon as, Watson has a chance to get back, we don't want Flacco. No, he goes to the Colts.
Right. There's no way that they could have retained Flacco's services and the locker room would be okay with them putting Watson ahead of Flacco.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
Winston, I don't think has done enough that the locker room. Yeah. There might be players who think Winston's better, but he's proven even less than Watson has in the NFL. At least Watson's made a playoffs before. I think he's still yet to win a playoff game, though. Unlike Baker Mayfield, who, again, they chose to replace after Baker won a playoff game. So, again, as bad as things are turning with the Jets with Rodgers, what choice do they have? Because definitely the answer is not go back with Zach Wilson, right? So the Jets, whether Rodgers is the answer or not, they still haven't had the quarterback answer. Cleveland had it. That's what makes the situation awful, is that they actually had something, gave it away, and now look at the Bucks. They just put up like 590 yards with Baker yesterday, 51 points. You can't tell me that the Browns are looking at that and aren't regretting it every single time. I mean, what's Zach Wilson doing, right? The Jets aren't looking back at, oh man, look how good Zach Wilson is backing up Bo Nix. We really regret this Rodgers thing. Like, they might still regret the Rodgers thing, but for that reason only. But with the Browns thing, it's always going to be, he not only has to be good, he has to be clearly better than Baker for any of this to be worth it. And it seems like that's going to never happen. And no, I didn't see the CBS video of the Browns today, Jamie, so if you can describe it. Yeah, Rodgers can't run. That's true. He's old. 40 years old. But he can throw. He can still throw. He does not use Hall for running, but asking him to block. And to be fair, what he should be doing, to your point, Turgay, what Hall shines in is receiving, which is, I thought he would use Breece Hall a lot as a receiver, but he's not even really doing that. So, yeah, it's kind of all a disaster. Yeah, Lazard's only useful if they're playing the Lions. I love Alan Lazard. I think he's underrated as a receiver, and there were times when he was very useful to Packers winning games. So, and we've seen it. I mean, he's gotten touchdowns from Rodgers. I think Lazard is underrated. So people need to, like, there's a reason he's on the team. There's a reason, like, it's not like the Jets have anyone better. That's a big problem.
Doesn't he lead the team in touchdown receptions?
Sorry?
Doesn't Lazard lead the team in touchdown receptions right now?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And probably in total touchdowns, too, because I don't think Breece Hall has scored enough.
No, you're right.
Scrimmage touchdown leader. But, yeah, I guess more Jets talk is this game tonight. So it was a while ago, but I'll restate it again. All this drama with the Jets, I don't think is helping them. Sometimes firing a head coach sparks a team. I think this will go in the opposite direction. So I'm picking the Bills as easily with only 1.5 points. Because, again, earlier in the week, I was looking, okay, 3.5, it's a little much, but the Jets are a disaster, so I'll probably still take that. But now it's 1.5, easily taking the Bills. So if you're ready to go, Gladys, we can start with picks.
Hold on, my dog is doing something crazy.
Okay, while you're settling that, I'll share that Dan totally doesn't think the same way, because he's actually taking the Jets as 1.5 point underdogs at home. So we'll see.
I'm gonna take what I don't know. I'm gonna take the Bills. I don't think Josh Allen's lost 3 games in a row. I'm gonna take the Bills.
Yeah, that's true. He's never lost 3 games in a row. Oh, but you know who has yet to appear on Monday night, but is joining us now? It's Jamie Perogue. How you doing, Jamie?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, Jamie.
Hey, I know that guy.
Hey, yeah, I know you.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So we're just we're talking about the spreads now, and Gladys and I are both taking the Bills, 1.5 point favorites. Dan, however, is going the opposite way with the Jets. You know what? And it's good for people, because every time the 3 of us have agreed on the team against the spread, we've got it wrong. Including last week, we all picked the Saints, 5.5 point underdogs.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Jets just because of their defense. I'm not sure how healthy Josh Allen's going to be after that hit last week. Like, are they going to want to risk it? Are they going to want to run him a lot? Like, who knows? And plus, the defense for the Jets, crazy good.
That's why I'm going under. I don't think they're going to hit the 41.5. Are we going 41?
41.5. It's the second lowest total we've had on Monday Night Football yet this year.
So I'm going under.
And Dan's also going under. Jamie, I imagine you're going to take that as well.
Yeah, I would definitely go to under.
So, as if I'm the guy going higher. Man, something's weird, because I'm usually the under on everything. Part of this narrative I'm spinning, what if without Saleh, the Jets defense isn't as good? Like that's what if like because he is a really good defensive coordinator, good defensive mind. Even though he's not calling plays, he's probably integral to the defensive game plan. What if his absence, they think they can game plan as well as without him, but they can't, and the defense suffers a little bit. So I am going to take, especially with Khalil Shakir returning, because it seems like if without Khalil Shakir, they have no idea what they're doing passing the ball. Josh Allen's awful. Shakir's back. I'm going to buy into Allen getting enough points for the Bills to help cover this, and if the Jets do anything, it'll contribute as well. But I'm the one guy saying higher this week, which is weird because, again, I'm usually the lower guy.
Is James Cook is officially out of this game then?
James Cook is officially inactive.
So it's going to be a passing game with Josh Allen playing hero ball.
And I actually think,
to be fair, that feels like that's every game.
But they don't have a run. I mean, who's the backup runner? Who is RB2 there?
The RB1 in the class this year, Ray Davis, at least before I started incorporating production. And pivoted to Blake Watson, which seems like that was not a good decision. I should have just stuck with Ray Davis.
So Ty Johnson is there. Ty Johnson has been getting more snaps than Ray Davis, but Ray Davis gets more of the carries.
I feel like Davis is going to get more snaps now that James Cook is out. But
he was only getting like 15, 60%.
Johnson's probably going to be out there for a lot of third downs still.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was actually looking at both of their rushing yard lines as we get to player props, and they're both low, so they're pretty intriguing. But yeah,
because the lines came out before the Cook information, right?
So I guess are they even still available to pick? Because I did have another one back up just in case.
Okay.
But man, I was seeing Ray Davis at 11.5 rushing yards, which he could even hit that if Cook was active. Like even if Cook's active, I still like that. Maybe not at the Jets defense, but yeah, if he's going to get most of it, like I love that line if that's still available. So, and actually,
Ray Davis, what was it?
I saw it at 11.5, but
rushing yards.
Yeah, rushing yards.
No, it's at 47.5 now. Rushing yards, and then 12.5 rushing attempts for Ray Davis. And then Ty Johnson is at 25.5 rushing yards. And
all right, never mind. I'm ignoring the Bills running back.
6.5 for Ty Johnson's attempts.
Carries. You see, I don't even like that because so when we had the Bills, what was it, week 2? We had the Bills game on, or week 3, the doubleheader. I went James Cook over his rushing attempts. The Bills crushed the Jaguars. Should have been a game where he would have hit that, and he didn't. So I really don't want to pick a Bills running back going over on attempts because, as Gladys said, Josh Allen can just play hero ball and throw it at time. So I'm actually going to pivot, I think, to something, the same prop I picked week 1, and it hit for me. Breece Hall higher on receiving yards.
Receiving yards?
Yes.
It's
even lower than it was in week 1, unless it's changed. I don't see this line really shifting though. I saw it at 26.5 earlier today.
Yeah, it's at 20. It's at 27.5. So it just went up 1 yard.
Okay, 1 yard's not that much. You know what it is? It's still lower than it was week 1, when it was 31.5, and that hit. So I'll take Breece Hall. Let's run it back with receiving yards on the running back, thinking that again. As Turgay was mentioning, like what are Breece Hall's skill sets? And he's really good at running, but he's really good at receiving as well. And so use that. And I think this could be a game where to get back on track, they kind of have to use it. So,
well, Michael Carter's out, so I might.
That's the defensive back, though.
Right, I might go Kincaid, but then again, because Michael Carter's out. Oh, Shakir's back in. No. I'm going to go Breece Hall higher than 3.5 receptions. I'm going Breece Hall higher than 13.5 rushing attempts.
Okay.
So Breece Hall's rushing line is at 57.5. It's at minus 115.
Yep.
But if you go over and look at his 60 plus, it's at a plus 105. So why wouldn't I go for 3 more or 2.5 more yards, right?
Yeah, if it's going to give you that much better.
Yeah, I bet the 60 plus Brees Hall's rushing versus that defense. I mean, it's one of the best matchups for rushing in the league. So I think he's going to have a great game.
All right,
I think they're going to feed him for sure. I think that's what the new OC is going to do, is just feed Brees Hall.
Well, and that could again come from the head coach, right? Like insisting. And you know what? Maybe the new head coach went to Hackett. Okay, what is your game plan going to be? And he didn't like it. Talk to Todd Downing, likes his game plan better. It could be as simple as that, right? Like, okay, now that I'm the head coach, I'm going to decide who gets which role. If I don't like what you've got, Hackett, and I like what Downing's got, he's going to be the play caller. Now, I imagine what's happening is they're just switching roles. Like Downing is the offense coordinator, play caller, but because his role before was passing game coordinator, that seems like that's an important role that you're going to need someone to do. Because someone asked about, like, what's Hackett doing there? Hackett's probably going to be that, right? Like he's going to be he'll help on passing game plays, but Todd Downing might, he's got someone helping him with the run game, or he's focused on the run game. Hackett helps out with the pass game. I wonder if that's how the relationship's going to be. But then that could mean that, like you said, Todd Downing wants to run the football.
The line on DraftKings went up too. Just went up to 42. So it went up a half a point.
Well, luckily we're sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Jamie, do your job. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
We got a fancy QR code here that I'm only going to put up just because Jamie's here and he loves to point at it. So use the promo code GF2 or scan the QR code. Right now, I believe the promo is $1,000 in bonus cash when signed up. So it's a lot of money to get from Underdog Fantasy. And heck, if you can do better than Gladys and I this year, that means you might actually be winning even more money. Because we need to get above 500 or even just to 500.
Jamie, what do you think about Josh Allen anytime score? That means he has to run it in.
Run. I don't know about the rushing though. I'm staying away from Josh Allen altogether just because I don't know what's going to happen with him. Like, after seeing that hit last week.
He came back in from it, though, right?
As far as I know, he didn't enter concussion protocol, right?
No, he didn't. He should have been.
Yeah, he really should have been.
Now, unlike the Dolphins a couple of years ago with Tua, this is in a Sunday game to a Thursday night game, right? Like he's had more than ample time to kind of recover from that going into a Monday. I guess it's 8 days, right? So the thinking is he'll be okay. But Dan's also picking against Josh Allen. And last week, Gladys, I picked the lower on a player prop for the first time any of us had this year, and it worked. Derek Carr did not hit 20.5 completions. So my lower on his completions actually, I think he had 18. So he got really close. Dan's going with the lower on his prop for the first time himself this season. Josh Allen lower than 228.5 passing yards.
Yeah, against that defense, the secondary.
Yeah, I figured the way you were talking about picking the Jets and then calling the defense, I figured you would approve of that.
Okay.
The one Josh Allen line I was kind of considering was pass attempts, and I looked at his career, and against the Jets, I think the line today is 29.5 pass attempts. Against the Jets, the 11 games he's played, 8 of those he's gone over 30 attempts. And only 3 of them he's gone under. So against this opponent especially, because if the defense is doing so well, it'll force the Bills to have to throw more. So I don't know how effective they'll be, which is why Dan could still pay off betting against the efficiency on the yards. But if you're going to go higher on anything Josh Allen, I think pass attempts is the way to go. Because as Jamie said, maybe protect him more. He's not going to run more. He will throw more as a way to kind of protect himself, even if it's a quick throw. All right.
Wow.
Question in the chat.
Yes, Junior.
One
question here.
Yeah. That's
So,
interesting.
have Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, Brees Hall, Kyron Williams, and Madison.
2 of my favorite players.
Hey, man, Jamie must love that running back room. My wide receivers are DJ Moore, Tank Dell, Jacoby Myers, or Calvin Ridley. Who do I trade? Just picked up Josh Downs and Tyrone Tracy. I mean, Madison's been getting touchdowns and more carries. If you can, if someone's willing to buy him, he'd be the one to sell and then just run those other 4 guys, especially if you have 2 flex spots. I'm playing all 4 of those running backs every week that I can. Just give me the opportunities, and I'll throw in 2 of those wide receivers.
Now, is this a start 2 receiver or start 3 receiver? That's the question, because the receiver room is a little weak. I do like DJ Moore, Tank Dell, so I'm thinking you can sell Kyron as like the highest value out of all these players right now.
If you want, what Kyron will get you is he'll get you an even better wide receiver than DJ Moore. And like as good as DJ Moore is as a wide receiver 1, if you can get an even better wide receiver 1 and DJ Moore is your wide receiver 2 every week, that's probably worth it. So Madison or Kyron seem to be the good sells. The problem with Breece Hall is I've heard people talk about that, like, oh, should you sell a high on Breece Hall? I saw it on a live stream, and I think the host responded, "Is he high? Like, is this the time to sell high on him? Because he's been pretty bad. Like, who really wants to go out and buy Breece Hall?" So
you'd have to sell Hall low right now. I'm good with keeping Hall.
Yeah.
I also love rolling with the Kenneth Walker, and then having Josh Jacobs as like a flex backup. I like that. So if you do sell Kyron, maybe you can sell Madison too.
That's the one I would try first, because if Madison can get you anything, it's probably worth it to take it now, because he might not have value most of the season. Like if Dylan Labe suddenly starts getting carried, or as Zamir White comes back from injury, like right now seems like it's not even like it doesn't seem like it's a sell high time for Madison, because he's probably not worth much, but someone might be willing to trade for him. So
well, a lot of people look at box scores and his 24-point game this week. You might be able to get like a good wide receiver 3.
This would be the sell high on the touchdown game, and where he got a lot of the carries.
Like I wonder if you can get like Jameson Williams straight up for Madison.
I kind of like that. So yeah, start 2 receiver, head-to-head points. Receivers are sus. So yeah, I think the idea is Juan is thinking this too by asking this. They want to move one of these running backs into a wide receiver. So honestly, I don't think you can go wrong selling Madison, Kyron, really anyone except Breece Hall. And now only sell Ken Walker, because again, I'm ranking Ken Walker as like a top 6 running back week.
Yeah, same
kind of price as Kyron. Like you should only sell those 2 if you're getting those prices. But sell Madison or sell Josh Jacobs. Honestly, Jamie, especially in redraft, the reason I don't love selling Kyron, he's already past his bye week. So sell one of these guys before they hit their bye week, and maybe you can get an extra week out of a player, especially a Jameson Williams, because he's already passed his bye week.
Well, I mean, if you get a receiver that already passed his bye week, say you sell Kyron straight up for AJ Brown.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Work. Kyron maybe for Malik Neighbors. Would you be able to do that?
Ooh, you know what? I don't hate that, because it might be attainable now because of the injury, right?
I mean, if you sell Kyron, you got to get one of those top 5, top 6 receivers, which would be like an AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors type.
Okay, so then Juan's asking, add Tank Dell to the package. Like Madison and Tank Dell gets you how good of a receiver? Someone that you can plug in.
Madison and Tank Dell might be able to get you like a Debo, which is a little bit higher than DJ Moore, kind of, or maybe even Ayuk or Godwin. I don't know.
Now, I don't think there's a rush to sell Tank Dell. We know Collins is out for another 3 weeks. I say, like, play Dell through these 3 games. You get massive production, and then maybe sell him before Collins gets back. Now, people will see that coming, right? And they might not. But like Dell's great in your lineup, and that can get you wins.
So he said he does have Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, that's a good flex option with the targets that he is getting. So I would stay away from maybe Neighbors in that situation, since you already have
Giants.
Robinson.
Marvin Harrison with his concussion now. Is that manager trying to get off Harrison for wins right now? So again, look.
So if you sell Dell and Madison, try to get Harrison. You got to remember, this is the same time of the year people were dropping Justin Jefferson his rookie year, and people are overreacting on the Marvin Harrison. So
actually doing that. I know people say that, but like, I don't know. But yeah, but he might be a good buy low now.
Or buy Brian Thomas off his bad game, because we all knew it was coming. I called it. I was sitting Brian Thomas in all my leagues, but
you talked about Sunday morning.
Yeah. Maybe Tank Dell and Madison for Brian Thomas, or that. Plus, you might be able to get something back on it. On top of that,
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think Tank Dell, like, be careful selling him because again, right now, in your lineup might be worth more than what you're gonna get in a trade. So again, what the first thing I would do, I'm looking at the teams that are really hurting at running back. Who is desperate for a running back, and they might pay more than the price on Madison just to get that running back off. So
especially off this week, so do it now.
yeah, so look at the teams. Maybe who this is maybe this, I think there's only 2 teams on bye this week. I think is it Dallas and Chicago.
Yep.
So Dowdle, Swift managers. That's probably not significant enough. But again, look for the teams that have been hurt by running back injuries. Look for someone that's underperforming as well at running back. Look for those managers that like you feel like they're having a hard time even getting to that second running back in the lineup. Look for them and look at those teams and like who's the best wide receiver you think you can get for Madison on those teams. And like send out offers to multiple teams that you think are hurting running back. But like tailor it to that. And if Madison really isn't getting any traction, then I think the next guy I'd look to sell is Josh Jacobs, actually.
See, mine would be Kyron Williams.
Kyron gets all the work
because you can get that, but you can get a
doesn't.
top 5 receiver.
Sure, yeah. If you can sell Kyron straight up for AJ Brown, that probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's my.
If I've got AJ Brown, I love Kyron. I don't think I'm doing that. Right, like even the neighbor's manager, right?
Send Kyron for St. Brown, send Kyron for AJ Brown, maybe.
Feel guilty for dropping Jerome Ford? Honestly, probably not.
No, I'm dropping Ford everywhere. Especially
he's going to be hurt. He's going to miss games, and then Chubb's going to be back, and it could just be a big committee where Foreman or Pierre Strong is still getting carries as well as Chubb. Like I feel like Jerome Ford, he gave you like 6 usable weeks for super cheap, and that's pretty much all he's going to do all year. Like the rest of the year, he's probably not that startable. Like I've got him in Scott Fishbowl. I'm probably still going to hold him just because the format does tend to favor running backs. But I think now is the. I mean, he's going to be injured. I'm not going to start him. But even once he's back from injury, the days of me starting him are probably done. But he's there still. I mean, if aggravation to Chubb injury, like it's pretty significant knee injury, and it's been over a year, so maybe he's fine. He's back, and he's going to be healthy all year. But there's still a chance he's not. So I don't think you have to drop him absolutely. But if you need to drop him to go get other players that are going to impact your lineup now.
I would drop him for Benson just for that upside.
Sure. If Connor goes down, that's maybe
since you do have Kyron, go grab Corum.
No, it's not awful.
But we do only have about 10 minutes left until the game starts. Are we doing any other player props? You got any parlays going?
What's your parlay?
Yeah, so I think we shared all our picks. So yeah, if you want to take over the segment, Jamie, feel free.
Okay, so I have a 4-pick parlay.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. It's at a plus 224. I'm going the alternate total over 29.5. I think that's pretty safe. I'm also going under 54.5 just because of the Jets defense. I don't think Bills can rack up that many points. Then I'm doing Garrett Wilson over 40 yards receiving. And
that's an alternate line too, right?
Yes.
Because I think his normal line was around 60, if I'm not mistaken.
50 something like that. And then I'm also doing the Breece Hall anytime touchdown. So I got the Breece Hall touchdown, Garrett Wilson over 40, and then the alternate over 29.5, alternate under 54.5. So I'll do $5. It'll get me 16, 20.
You said $25?
No, I put $5 on that.
$5.
It'll get me 16.
Okay. Oh, 16. Okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you wouldn't get less. Yeah.
So my next one's a little more. It's a 7-leg, but I also put a boost on it, 50% boost. I think Breece Hall is going to get that 60+ yards. I got Kincaid over 25 receiving yards. Garrett Wilson again with the 40+. And then again with the over 29.5. And then again with the Breece Hall anytime touchdown. I think it's time for him to get it. And then I've
seen people do that parlay, the Breece Hall yards and the Breece Hall touchdown. I think it was Michael Huff from the FF Faceoff. He was talking about that too.
Oh, he did that too? Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Breece is going to get over 60+ and that touchdown. And then I took 2 team total overs. over 10.5 for the Bills and over 10.5 for the Jets. It just added a little bit to the parlay.
Yeah, even though those seem like fairly safe, at least for the Bills.
Yeah, so those 7 picks, it would have been at plus 500, and with my boost, it's at 750. So I put $5 on it, and I could win 43.
And so the thought is, like, if you were to just take these alternate line bets just on their own without parlaying them, they'd be negative odds so much that like you're barely profiting if you get it right. So the trick is to take these things, make them super safe, but put them all together, and you get suddenly positive odds.
Yeah, the only plus odds was that anytime touchdown at plus 100 for Brees Hall, but everything else was below that at like minus 400, minus 300. But once you add them all together, it's actually I came up with this idea. So if you bet $100 every week on a minus 500 odd, you're most likely going to hit it, right? So you're going to get what, 125 out of it, and then you reinvest that every week for the rest of the year. That $100 would turn into, I think it was like $780 some dollars.
Yeah.
Say that again slowly.
So you put $100 bet on a negative 500 odds.
Okay.
Once you win that, you reinvest you put the $100 plus the money you get, which would be like 125.
Right.
And then you put that on a minus 500 odd bet.
So you're putting 225 down.
You're doing that for 10 weeks. And once that 10 weeks hit, you're going to have like a $780 in your bank.
Jamie, so the second bet would be 225 on 500. So you're just
no 125, because you take the initial 100 and then the profit, which would be like the $25.
So you're basically making $25 every week.
Okay.
And then that would be $250 over 10 weeks.
First week you're making 25, but then the next week you'll make like 30 some, but it'll increase every week because
you're putting the 125 back in. I thought you were just putting the 100. Okay.
No, you keep putting
you keep putting your profits back in.
Because my thought was, okay, if you're winning 125 every week, you just keep reinvesting the 100 and you just keep making $25 every week, and then. But yeah, okay, that actually makes even more sense.
That would only
dropping the odds, the more you win, and the more you win, the more you profit. Okay.
So what's your 500 bet? What was your 500 bet this week?
Oh, I didn't do it yet. That's just like a theory I'm throwing around.
Oh, okay.
So if I start it next week, by week 17, if I hit every single one, it would be like a $780 bank.
Nice. If you hit every one.
If I hit every one.
But that's the thing. Like even the safest things might not hit, because sports are weird, which is why we love sports so much.
But good luck with that. So, Jamie, what do you have for tonight? What are your bets for tonight? You took the over on the regular 41.5 or what? Under?
No, hold on. I did the alternate
over. No, wait.
I mean, she's just meaning for the show, right? Like
for the show.
Our typical, we'll take the spread, we'll take the over under.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like just at the face value lines, not alternate lines or anything.
42.5. I'm going to take the under on the 42.5.
Yeah, I think you said Jets and going under, like just like Dan was.
Yeah, I'm taking the Jets and going under.
And okay, wait, I took the Bills, right?
Yeah, you and I both took the Bills. Okay. You also went under. I'm the only one going higher, though.
Okay, I forgot, because this game I really don't know what's gonna happen. Either they're gonna get the boost, which I don't think they will, from firing Salah, and the Bills need to win. They both need to win. Like, won't the winner be in the first place in the division? So sad.
Yeah, I think so.
So sad.
Yeah. Man, the Jets in first place in the division seems so weird, but yeah, I guess that's on the line for them tonight.
Oh my God.
Well, which makes no sense, which is why I think the Bills are going to win. So.
Yeah, okay. I kind of want to cheer for the Bills because I just want the Jets to lose, but I don't know if I picked according to that or if I picked according to strategy. But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with the Bills. I'm going with the emotional pick. I'm going with the Bills drumming this stuff.
I mean, just to stick it to the Jets for the Salah thing, I'd love to see the Bills win this, but I also don't think that's the emotional thing. Like, my brain says I don't think this Jets team is going to do as good without Salah. So with Khalil Shakir coming back, I think it's enough for the Bills to win this. So
yeah, I think Khalil Shakir is a good boost. I think James Cook is the.
I mean, again, when I first saw the line drop this week, and I guess I was looking more after Tuesday, Wednesday when Salah was fired, but just like looking ahead. Okay, what am I going to do? Bills Jets. I'm seeing 3.5, and I was still thinking taking the Bills at 3.5. So I see it 1.5. Like to me, that's an easy pick.
All they really have to do is pepper the middle with Michael Carter out. I mean, their best slot corners out. Just Shakir and Kincaid all day long.
Well, I think that's one of the places Shakir plays the most is in the slots.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and that's why I took the Kincaid 25+ yards in my parlay because I think that's pretty simple to hit.
Yeah.
So again, we've talked about it. So
shit.
Gladys and I are going.
I have Shakir.
Bills,
put him in.
Jets for the Dan. Gladys and Dan going lower. I'm going higher. And then our favorite props. Jamie, did you have a like if you had to pick one prop to go with that you think is the best one, and not an alternate line on it, just like what the?
Well, it's got to be the Breece Hall 57.5 rushing because obviously I'm taking the 60+.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna hit. I like that one the best.
That makes sense. Okay. I mean, and to be fair, that's what Gladys is taking. Or no, sorry, Gladys is taking the rushing attempts. My mistake, right, Gladys? 13.5 rushing attempts.
Rushing attempts, I am taking.
But it sounded like you were also considering the yards, right? Like you want to just you think because of the attempts he's going to get the yards, but if you think he's just going to get the opportunity, you don't even have to worry about how effective he is. He just gets the opportunity.
In my parlay, I took the rushing attempts.
And that would be good to parlay together, right? Attempts and the yards together and the touchdown. Like that's just make a Breece Hall parlay, and if he it's one scenario and you get all three kind of thing.
Yep.
So that makes sense. So it's funny. Three of us, if you include Dan in this as well, 3 of the 4 of us are taking a Breece Hall prop. Jamie going with the rushing yards, Gladys going rush attempts. I'm going Breece Hall receiving yards higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan going lower on Josh Allen passing yards, which is at 228.5. So we'll see.
Totally unrelated. How long a leash do you think they have on Will Levis? I'm holding on to Mason Rudolph.
Oh my God. Yeah, well, I'm going to talk about him tomorrow. Just a little preview.
Fantasy cheat sheet tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
He is trash. Playing one of the worst defenses in the league. Can't even hit 100 yards.
Hey, I said before the season, I thought the Titans would be picking first overall in the draft next year. That was my preseason.
No, the Browns need to pick first overall. Carson Beck, baby.
I mean, is Carson Beck the pick at first overall, though?
Probably, yes. That would you would think, right?
Well, I mean, it seems like there's other quarterbacks playing better. They're just maybe not on as good a teams.
We'll see. We'll get to that in the offseason.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I don't know.
So hold on to Mason Rudolph then. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, I've gone and picked him
I
up.
don't even want to do that. Mason Rudolph's even worse.
No. Worse than Levis? No. Levis is like draining points with his interception and taking out sideline people. He's like just hemorrhaging points.
And what I don't understand is Levis, he played the Jets, I think, right? Already. Yeah. It was one of the defenses, and he had like 200 some yards. It's like, how do you do that against a tough defense and don't do anything when you should have like 300 yards?
Yeah.
Will Levis enigma, right? And none of it makes sense.
I have been off Will Levis since draft, so I don't care. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like him before the draft, and then when he fell out of the first round, it was every excuse I needed to just never draft him in fantasy or roster him in dynasty. I've got 0 Levis shares. I've definitely got more
0
Mason Rudolph than I do Will Levis. So for my dynasty portfolio, yes, I'd rather Rudolph start so I can go and sell him for something.
Hey, it's really,
I don't really want to start Rudolph either, to be fair, but I have him in leagues. Someone might actually need a quarterback, and I can get a third out of Mason Rudolph or something.
Aloha. Are you in Hawaii? Is Julia in Hawaii? She live there?
I have no idea.
That would be awesome.
Maybe it's Hawaiian Thanksgiving too. I don't know. That's what she's saying.
Hawaii's part of the United States, Kyle. It would be Indigenous Day.
Well, okay, that's true. But I also know that like some holidays in Canada, it's just okay. This province celebrates this holidays. Another province might celebrate Canada. I know states in the U.S. are weird too. Like they've got like totally separate laws on stuff that's like, oh, this is a federal law, and they say, it doesn't matter.
But
This is
it's
our
a
state
federal
law,
holiday.
right? So, like, wasn't there a big controversy because Arizona refused to celebrate Martin Luther King Day for like years? Like, it was up until like recently, like in the 2000s, that they finally like were forced to change it because like I think they weren't getting all-star games or like drafts or things like that. Like sports leagues were sort of okay, we're not going to give you these big events until you celebrate this very important day, right? Like I don't know if it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but
it was Martin Luther King Day.
Okay.
I had some bitch from Arizona tell me that it's not a holiday and she should get her happy hour drink. Yeah, it was Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, so you see, so states are pretty stupid. Like they'll have their own weird laws. So I don't know. Hawaii's so far away; they can do whatever they want. No one will notice.
Yeah, it is a holiday every time a football game's on. I agree.
And I guess there's football games on almost
every day. Yeah. That's why Jamie's always so happy. It's a holiday every day in Jamie's household.
Well, we're always happy to have Jamie on. I'm very thankful again. I mean, at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thanks for letting me pop in.
Yeah, no problem. I know Jamie. Like this, if this is something you want to do regularly, feel free.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely organize to get you on when the Browns play. Which?
Oh, geez. Do we have to? Should I wear a bag over my head?
Sure. Week 13 against Denver.
Oh, God. Well, hopefully Jameis Winston's playing by then. So
well, we've got 6 more weeks, so it's like a month and a half away. So I'll definitely I'll keep you on the calendar.
Jamie, what was the CBS? What were you talking about?
It was hilarious. So what they did is they had a guy wake up, his alarm went off. He put on his Baker Mayfield jersey. He's like, yeah, we're ready for the Super Bowl, and we got our first round picks to work on our offensive line, and we got all this cap space because we saved all this money on giving Baker Mayfield a good contract. And then again, the alarm goes off, and the dude wakes up. And 1-4, the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson sucks, blah blah blah. Like, it's hilarious. I'll throw it in the chat when I get a chance.
That's awesome.
And yes, Green Bay did smash Arizona yesterday. So defensively, one of the things that I was concerned with going into the game was pass rush and contain. You need to be able to do both, right? Like you can't be just so aggressively like rushing Kyler that you give up an easy escape lane.
Right.
Truthfully, they actually really didn't do that well. Like Kyler was constantly able to get out of the pocket, but I think what the Packers secondary did really well was not let him make big plays. And it was sometimes the young safeties. And like right now, the Packers, they were actually running 3 safeties on the field a lot, 2 of whom are rookies. Javon Bullard in the 2nd round and Evan Williams in the 3rd round. And it seemed like one of the ways they were almost operating as a spy on Kyler. If he escaped the pocket, they were there to make the tackle. And so to put that kind of responsibility on 2 rookies, that says something about how ready these guys are. So I think, honestly, the Packers secondary is definitely the strength of this team, which makes sense because Jeff Hafley, before he was Boston College head coach, defensive coordinator, he was a defensive backs coach in the NFL. I think the last time was 2018 with the 49ers. The Packers' current defensive backs coach, I believe he had the job last year. So he's also had previous defensive back experience. And then they brought in like their defensive passing game coordinator. He was also a defensive backs coach. So like this defensive coaching staff, huge emphasis on the secondary, which is totally the opposite of Joe Barry. His whole thing was front 7. That like he's a pass rush specialist, linebackers coach, defensive end coach. He didn't really care what was going on in the secondary. It was really a lot of basic coverages. Hafley defense, they're having a lot of fun mixing and matching coverages, who's where, and I think that's the core of the defense. Xavier McKinney has been incredible. Someone was tweeting out, is he the best Packers defensive player since Charles Woodson? And I did ask it to my co-host, Jesse, and I think we're actually going to address it on the Full Press Packers podcast this upcoming week in our Texans preview. But to hint at it, he said the only guy that comes close is Zadarius Smith. Because it's true. Zadarius Smith made such a huge impact as a pass rusher when he was on the Packers. that 2019 season where Rodgers like threw 25 touchdowns, the offense wasn't the reason that the Packers were the 1 seed. It was the defense. And it's probably the best the defense has played since that 2019 season. And I think part of it is this secondary is just so good. And man, the linebackers are really bad in coverage. So that's the one thing. So we saw Trey McBride get a ton of catches. But yeah, ultimately, I think just how good the secondary is taking things away deep. Kyler like never threw deep at all. And so the offense was like having to the truth is the Cardinals offense, they mustered 3 scoring drives, only one of which was them driving down the whole field to kick a field goal. They got a really short field off an interception that they were basically in field goal range. They kicked it from there. And then I think they had a big return, and then that led to their touchdown drive. But outside of those 3 drives, which were 3 consecutive drives, the Cardinals did absolutely nothing on offense. And it seemed like the inability to go deep was a huge concern because then it forced them to have to, barely get a first down and go the whole length of the field. And they were taking a lot of penalties. So they were in some really inadvantaged situations. Like the Cardinals just made a ton of mistakes. And the Packers basically didn't.
Jets are up 3-0. First 4 plays, Aaron Rodgers, 3 of them went to Breece Hall. 2 rushing, 1 pass.
And I saw a 24-yard pass to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, 1 pass.
I thought you were going to say Breece Hall. It's like that almost hits the line right there.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I put 40, so
Breece Hall's pass was incomplete. Breece Hall's pass was incomplete. But he targeted him. But he had 2 carries.
30 yards, damn it. So now, Jamie, if you want to talk about the Browns, Julia's also asking about how the Browns were really close to beating the Eagles.
They weren't close. It was a mirage.
The defense,
if who fell short, it was actually Barkley fell short because the score should have been like 42-3. And the only reason we scored that touchdown was because Myles Garrett blocked that punt or blocked that field goal, right?
Yeah.
So at that time, I was like, we ain't even going to score 3 points. And then that happens. I'm like, all right, well, we got a touchdown. I wasn't expecting much more, but the Eagles were disappointing. They should have had way more points. So who fell short? I think it was Barkley.
Well, it's the thing, because everyone else hit for fantasy. Like Jalen Hurts got you 20 points. Brown, I think AJ Brown right now in points per game is the #1 wide receiver. Fantasy-wise, like AJ Brown's been doing everything he needs to.
mean, Watson still hasn't had a 200-yard game all year long. Our last 300-yard passer was the guy who threw 300 yards last week, and that was Joe Flacco.
I thought you were going to say PJ Walker for a second. Like CFL quarterback PJ Walker? No.
Man.
It's funny because people say Watson was the worst quarterback last year. Like he was bad, but he wasn't as bad as PJ Walker and Dorian Thompson.
You guys, I got to go. My dog has to go outside.
Okay. Yeah. We're already past the first drive. Like we've gone overtime.
Jamie, thank you.
That you stayed a little bit extra time, Gladys.
Kyle, thank you. Yeah. Julia, thank you.
Everyone in the chat, thanks.
Everyone in the chat, I appreciate you guys. My Satan dog is like, ow! I gotta go. Bye.
All right, bye, Gladys.
Dog at Halloween time. Bye, Gladys. So Julie mentions that she also likes Bullard. He's very good, but yeah, Evan Williams. I think Bullard he was a second-round pick. Like this was expected of him to start. I don't think Evan Williams was expected to be this good as a 4th rounder. So he's developed right away. They've talked about it. Like as soon as they got him in rookie minicamp, the other veteran defensive players were noticing him. So yeah, it looks like they're both just super smart football ready players, ready to play this Jeff Hafley system, which again is fairly complex in the secondary. But yes, the D-line is still shaky. I still say, Kenny Clark still hasn't had his best game yet. So if he plays better, that'll be good. Like if Clark and Gary can both dominate in the same game, that goes a long way. But it's the interior depth. Aside from Clark, and Devontae Wyatt's hurt, and he had kind of been coming on strong as that second defensive tackle for them inside. So now it's TJ Slayton and Carl Brooks, and Brooks had a couple of good plays, but there were times where he was just getting pushed around and leaving big seams. So yeah, I still think the biggest weakness on the Packers is that second defensive tackle next to Clark. They really haven't. They thought they had it in Wyatt, and they might still have it in Wyatt, but until he's back healthy, we're not going to know. And yeah, Michael Wilson got a touchdown. Unfortunately, Jamie, I should have started Christian Watson over him still, though.
I played Michael Wilson over Mike Evans. I actually did. Remember we talked about that? I kept Michael Wilson in.
Nice. Good job, dude.
Ford did get injured, but that still wouldn't have helped the Browns in any which way. I've been telling people, you can put prime LaDainian Tomlinson in the Browns backfield. You can put Superman in the Browns backfield, and it's not going to help them.
I mean, Superman might help. He can't tackle him right? Super fast.
That's
easy faster than Xavier Worthy. Like that might do it. But Rashawn Gary is slowing down this year. It's funny because week 1, he had one of the best games I've seen him have against the Eagles. And he's done nothing since then. I actually thought this was one of his better games since that week 1. I talked about that on the most recent Packers pod. But he still didn't have a sack. He was putting pressure and he getting in the backfield, disrupting a lot of these run plays outside as well. So I felt like Gary did better. But when he really broke out week 1, I know Jesse and I were talking, oh man, this is what takes this defense to another level. And we've had nothing from him since. So yeah, it is a little disappointing. I think Clark and Gary can both play better. And if they do, I mean, Gary Clark Jr. is an amazing guitar player. So if you can get a Gary Clark Wyatt trio of pass rushers, that would be killer. And yeah, we also love chatting with you, Julia. I love chatting with Juan and so we never got confirmed if it was J Mark or Miranda, but I'm gonna assume it was at least J Mark. And yeah, Turgay as well. So yeah, appreciate everyone in the chat and some random guy named Jamie.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is.
All right, great guy. Very thankful. Yeah, Browns O-line used to be a strength of the team, and now it's
a
lot of injuries.
Garbage. Browns are trash.
And I think the defense is awful compared to last year. I think the offense is so bad that if you had an offense that's doing so bad, it'll hurt the defense. Even if the defense themselves is doing well by their own merit, you could have a really bad offense make a defense look super bad.
I mean, after 25 years of this crap, you get used to it. So it really doesn't affect me anymore. That's why I love fantasy football. I'm interested in other players and teams.
The most popular people playing fantasy football, Browns fans.
Yes.
We appreciate you, Jamie. And yeah, you feel free to come on any week you want, but especially you have to be here on the Browns week, though. No,
yeah, I'll make it a point.
But thank you for coming on. Thank Canadian Thanksgiving. Yeah,
Canadian,
blue. Yeah,
blue for Canadian Thanksgiving. Because I am part Canadian in my heart.
I mean, Cleveland's really close to Lake Erie, and Canada has well, we don't have Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan's entirely in the States, but the other 4 Great Lakes, we split them. So we're not that different, Jamie. I mean, I live on the north shore of one Great Lake. You're on the south shore of another. It's basically the same person. Only you're far more handsome than I am.
So, all right. Did you already have your Thanksgiving turkey?
We actually had ham.
Ham. Okay. I'm more of a turkey guy than ham.
Yeah. We wanted to try to yeah.
You guys eat moose? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, I've eaten moose before.
You can eat moose?
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to try that one day.
That's really tough to cook it yourself. If most people that I know, if they get a moose, they take it to a butcher and they have the butcher prepared for it. So,
have you ever had moose jerky?
Thing? I think so. Yes. One of my favorite things though is my uncle's brother. He makes whenever they get a moose every year, he'll make moose chili.
Oh, I love chili, and moose would be awesome in chili.
Oh, man, so good. It's always that's a great way to spend Christmas.
My goal in life is to try moose. I need to have moose chili and moose jerky.
All right, coming up to Sudbury during Christmas.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, maybe a cool lamp in the background to show off all those books and all the random photos. I've got this lamp in front of me, but I hate it because there's too much of a glare, right? So you want to see me better, so I just use the computer light. But yeah, it looks a lot better on Sunday mornings when I can open the window and it's bright out. Then you can really see the room. But yeah, on these night.
Yeah, so yeah, Sundays I'm not glitching with this background. You can see me kind of glitching. But I just discovered this. I didn't know we could do this. So last week I noticed Gladys had one, and I thought that was her home. I'm like, oh, Gladys has a jacuzzi in her back patio. But then I figured out it's a backdrop you could just add.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just me here, but yeah, everyone's accepted and welcome as a Canadian. We're very open people, so yeah, everyone can celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, and thank you for those who joined us here to celebrate with us, talk fantasy football, talk this Jets Bills game that I guess is almost at halftime now, but yeah, we'll see how those props are doing, and we'll see which players prop off. But yeah, next week we're back to another doubleheader. There's going to be, I think, 4 doubleheader Monday night games throughout the year, so we've got another one next week. So I think we'll actually be starting a half hour earlier, 6:30 Eastern. For Gladys' sake, 4:30 Mountain. Yeah, I think Caribou would also probably be really good. I think the problem is I'm too far south for Caribou. They're more like a northwestern thing. Like you'll see more Caribou in like Alaska and probably like British Columbia and the territories. I don't think Caribou come this far south, not like Moose.
Just a little tidbit for next week, though. The Monday first game actually starts regular time, and then the second game starts at 9, which is 45 minutes later.
So it's 8:30. Okay, so like we can still start
at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
So I guess we might still just start at 7 p.m. Eastern then. All right, so never mind. No change. Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for updating us. What would we ever do without you? Yeah, in terms of the score, it was 3-0 last time we checked.
Let's see. It is still 3.
7-3. The Bills, looks like the Bills just scored a touchdown.
Yeah, who scored? Touchdown, Josh Allen, 1-yard run. I was wrong on the figures. I didn't bet against it, so I'm good.
Yeah, no. There you go. Bills winning, eh? There you go. Pick the Bills might benefit, but it's still a long way to go.
Kincaid's the only one with a reception. 1 reception for 14 yards. Ray Davis has 6 carries, 48 yards.
Already 6 carries.
Has Jesus. 1 for 12. So
maybe I should have gone over on those carries.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to run that much. Well, I mean, I guess you should have thought that because they can't pass on them with that defense. So what else are you going to do besides run?
Yeah, who knows?
Well, now we know for next time.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think we have the Bills on Monday night anymore. We've used up the 2 games.
Yeah.
But next week, Ravens Buccaneers is one game.
That'll be a great game.
Yeah, for sure. And then Chargers Cardinals. So I'm actually looking forward to Monday nights.
Yeah, the Chargers Cardinals, not really too interested in that one, especially if Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be out.
I really hope Troy Aikman gets the Cardinals Chargers game, so I can just ignore it completely and then go with the alternate Louis Riddick crew because I just can't.
So 7 days from now, yeah. So Kyler's playing. So Call of Duty don't come out till the 26th of October. So I think we're good for him to have a.
So you should say, okay. So next week, play Kyler against the Chargers, and then sell him. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the Chargers is tough defense. I don't even know how good he's going to do against them.
Goal line. Okay, here's the thing. Though. So apparently, and this is something the Packers didn't even stop the Cardinals from doing. The Cardinals have scored a touchdown on every single go-to-go situation all year.
Huh.
The Chargers have allowed a touchdown on every single play inside their 5-yard line this year.
Interesting.
So now it's getting to the red zone, getting to the goal line. That's the trick. If they can get there, I'm pretty confident the Cardinals can score.
So I mean, who's going to get it though? Like James Conner?
Well,
he didn't do much.
Yeah, I mean,
what's going on with him?
As long as Conner doesn't fumble, they'll probably go back to him. But he definitely got benched from the fumble. Like once he fumbled, it was mostly DeMarcado the rest of the way. So that also probably hurt them because Conner's their best back. Now they were also using Conner. Let's run him on the outside a ton as opposed to up the middle. So that also kind of didn't make sense from the Cardinals standpoint. But yeah, no, I think who knows? I think I ranked Kyler too high this week. I think I ran him at QB3.
So the one guy I'm interested in is Kamani Vidal.
Yeah,
that dude is electric.
First catch, 30-yard touchdown.
Yeah, his first touch in the NFL.
And I don't think he did anything else.
No, he did all right. He had like
He had
4
a few carries, but it was a heavy J.K. Dobbins game. Apparently, J.K.
It's
Dobbins
always going to be a heavy J.K. Dobbins game.
Well, not always. This was a career high in opportunities for Dobbins, and like
25 carries.
Yeah, I think apparently he'd never hit 20 carries in a game before in his career.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now you got to think though, Jamie. Gus Edwards has been active with J.K. Dobbins every game of his career. It seems because the 1 year Edwards is out with an injury, that was an ACL tear for Dobbins. So, like he's never not had Gus Edwards as a problem in the backfield, just take away work from him. So he finally got a Gus Edwards free game. Pretty good. He wasn't overly effective, but with the volume, he got a touchdown. He got 90 yards. Well, it's funny, Julia, because this year, I think, is the most unbalanced we've had with good teams playing in prime time. Like, it seems like these channels, the amount of money they're spending on the big prime time and the streaming games, they want good teams for them. So it's also kind of unbalanced the schedule a little bit in terms of rest edge. And as the season goes on and these teams have like massive rest disparities going into a game, I'll really go on that and use that as like a determiner for like how I'm going to pick against the spread. I think so far it's only happened once. I think I talked about that with the Bills and Jaguars, where the Bills had like a Thursday night game in that week 3. They went from Thursday night week 2 to Monday night week 3. So they had like 10 days off, and the Jaguars were going like from a Sunday to a Monday. So like when those rest edges come, I will definitely talk about them on Monday nights because it'll probably heavily impact which teams.
I mean, if you really want viewership, just play the Texans versus the Lions every week, prime time.
I mean,
17 weeks straight.
Yeah, the Texans and Lions are playing each other this year, so they're not playing each other every week.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Schedule makers need to make some changes because I remember when the Browns when they made the playoffs that 1 year with Baker, right? And then the very next year, they put like 4 or 5 primetime games for the Browns, but we sucked.
Well, I think Baker was dealing with a lot of injuries that next year.
Yeah, true.
Which, again, that's been totally held against him, right? Like, that one bad year with injuries, okay, let's go get Watson, right? Like, they totally overreacted to that. They just have to accept it as, okay, this was a down year. Got the dude who was injured. You should have just kept the course because you knew what you had.
Yeah, and then there was a time when Baker had like 5 straight games that was like in downpour rain, 25 miles an hour wind. So it really wasn't his fault.
No, that's true. I remember that. Yeah, that's the avoid Cleveland at all costs. And like, don't play the Cleveland kicker or whoever the other team's kicker. It's like avoid those players too. Like the weather is definitely an impact.
Oh.
All right. Well, we've gone. We're over an hour and a half now. So again, thanks for Julia sticking with us. It's great.
Julia, tune in tomorrow for the cheat sheet. We'll be on tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern.
Well, Going for 2 Live has tons of great shows. Speak on it also on Tuesdays. So you get a double header on Tuesday nights. The Armchair Show Wednesday night. Gladys will be back on Thursday. Armchair DFS on Friday nights, and then we start the week, and Jamie and I are back on Sunday mornings with Topher. Yep. So again, hopefully Juan, you're able to trade one of those running backs like discussed. Thanks for joining. Great question. That gave us a lot to think about. Turgay, lots of great comments about the Jets. And then J. Mark and Miranda, again, thanks for having me on last Thursday. But I guess we're finally gonna end this. So on behalf of Jamie
just made a 21-yard pass or a catch from Rodgers.
Paul?
Breece Hall, 21-yard receiving.
All right, 8 more yards. 8 more yards, Breece.
All you need, man.
Or 6 or 7 more yards.
Yep.
7 more yards, Breece. Let's go. Thank you. Thanks, Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, though, so he mostly brought us nothing but wins all the time. So, of course, I love Aaron Rodgers. You can see why Jets fans might not like him as much. He hasn't really won that much. Good memories for me. Hey, Packers won a Super Bowl. I'm happy. I'm totally happy with the Aaron Rodgers contributions to my team. Would have loved more, but hey, it's not easy to win a Super Bowl. So
nope.
Even just to get one, I'll take it. But we'll find out who will win this Bills Jets game. I'd say keep watching. We're actually about to end the stream, but go actually watch the game if you want to find out. So on behalf of Jamie and Gladys and honorary co-host Dan, would love to eventually get him back on. schedules could work out. But I am Kyle Senra at Senra Says. Jamie's at Jamie Perogue. Gladys is at Gladys L. Tyler. Why is Stefanski's job still warm? I mean, I think it's because he's tied to Watson, right? Like if the whole franchise is going to just sink on Watson, everyone's doomed anyway. And it feels like, I mean, it seems like he's been given the mandate from ownership that Watson's the guy. You're not benching him. You have to make it work with Watson. And so that's what his bosses have told him. And I mean, he's sticking to it. So he's won Coach of the Year a couple times, and with all the it feels like he's a really good coach, and Cleveland at least recognizes that. They might also realize it's not his fault we went and got Watson, so you can't really blame him for that.
Yeah, I blame Andrew Berry.
Yeah,
it's Berry's fault. They need to bench Watson, and if they do that, they'll fire Berry. That's the only option.
And I think, Haslam probably was super huge in that too, because they originally were out, and I think, okay, let's re-up the offer to get that kind of guarantees. That comes from ownership. So, it's kind of
Haslam needs to stay away from the football decisions, keep running those truck stops, and just give the money. That's all he needs to do. I met him and his wife a bunch of times because I did work for him at Pilot for 7 years. And great guy, really friendly. His handshake feels like a warm hug. I love the guy, but keep out of the football. Just throw your money into it. We don't need your opinions.
These meddling owners, man. Hey, look at that. We're talking about the Jets tonight.
But yeah, on that note, go watch the game.
Well, I think, Julia, what we're saying is, this isn't Stefanski's call, right? Like to bring in Watson was not his call. To whether Flacco was in or not, that probably wasn't Stefanski's call either. He's the GM and the owner are telling him this is the quarterback. It's all Deshaun Watson, and you have to work with it. And he's doing what his bosses tell him, and he's working with Watson. He doesn't have a choice. That's probably why he still has a job, because he knows who's in charge and he's listening to them. But
Yep, and it just doesn't fit the franchise. If Flacco would have stayed, they would be winning right now, and that's not a Browns thing to do.
Baker was winning too many games. That's why they had to get rid of him.
Exactly. Baker made the playoffs. We got to send him away.
Yeah, we don't want people having hope all of a sudden. This is the sadness factory where hope goes to die. We can't have hope.
Yeah.
And now there is none because of Deshaun Watson.
Oh, man.
Hope it's better for the Jets. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, anyway, thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Monday Night 2-Point Conversion. After a touchdown, you end the game with a 2-point conversion. At the end of the football week, you end it with us on Monday night. So appreciate everyone. Appreciate you for joining, Jamie. Much love to my co-host. Very thankful to have Gladys on the show. Once again, I'm Kyle Senra. We'll talk to you all. Oh, God. Julia, no, I can't. I've ranted about this too much. Jacobs is a better inside runner. Jones is much better in the passing game. And there are plays this year where I could see why they brought in Josh Jacobs. I still don't think it was worth it, though. So I still think they should have just found a way to keep Aaron Jones. And because I think some of these inside runs, Emmanuel Wilson could do just as well. So you're losing not just the player, but the emotional leader in that locker room. I wanted to keep Jones. So as Jacobs hasn't been awful, but he also hasn't transformed the team like he was kind of promised to be, or you'd think getting rid of Jones and making that big investment on Jacobs, it'd have to totally change the team. Again, there are plays where I understand why they did it. I also think, they could have kept Jones and still got a cheaper running back to do that with Jacobs. So I didn't like the call. I loved signing Xavier McKinney, but I did not like the Josh Jacobs call.
Garrett Wilson touchdown.
All right, well, there you go. And you're saying he got like a 36 or a 26-yard catch or something?
That was earlier. I think he got the 24-yard earlier.
But I'll just say he's going to be pretty close to getting that 60. So.
This was only a catch for 5 yards. Touchdown.
But I'll just say, by the end of the game, he's probably going to get 60 yards. Mm-hmm. At least it looks like he's on pace for that.
Yeah. Man, I need that parlay to hit.
Good luck. Good luck to you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Jones is injury prone. He's injured right now. So, yeah, you can argue that. That Jacobs' durability is a skill set. But, I also think upside and like injuries are going to happen in football. Josh Jacobs could just as very well get injured next week and like be like tear an ACL, be out for the year. And
Any
Jones
player at any given time can get injured.
So yeah, Jones has dealt with injuries, but what he gives you in terms of explosiveness, what he gives you in terms of being a good goal line back because he's got the vision for it, kind of like Kyron, right? Like, inarguably, AJ Dillon is a much better athlete than Aaron Jones. But throughout the course of their time in Green Bay, Aaron Jones was better at every facet of running because he's a better football player than AJ Dillon. So, Jamie, Blake Corum, I think, is inarguably a better athlete than Kyron Williams.
Yep.
But the proof has shown that Kyron Williams is a better football player.
Sure.
Yeah. I'll trust Sean McVay. That dude seems like a pretty smart coach. So, and yeah, Bills defense awful. They made a lot of changes too. So,
yeah, the Buff D is awful. That's what she said.
We're ending it here.